These type of videos are my actual favorite when we get to compare two different watches. Yeah, you will see later, these are not too different, but they are quite different in the same way, and I will get that later. We're checking out the Italian brand Venezianico, and I hope I pronounced that somewhat correct, but please don't fact check me on that. I'm sure it's pronounced somewhat different. You can see on the box here that we have a lot of Italian references. On my wrist today I have the Rolex Datejust, the latest version. Make sure to check out the video when I compare this to the new sized Panther. But enough about Rolex, they get enough media time, I think. Let's get back into this beautiful Italian brand that we've seen quite a lot around but never had on my wrist before. The first little detail is this golden logo here that kind of really catch my attention, and it really sparks in the light. But let's get into the box. And inside the box we have the Ultrablack Redentore, and you will see we have something very similar in the next box. But under the actual watch is where you will find some of the hidden manuals, etc. Because here we have two different documents. The first of them actually shows how you get to the instruction manual, because this is a digital version. So you just scan this code and then you get into actually a Google Drive, and here you can see all the instruction manuals, how to set the time and date of all the different watches. Quite an innovative way of not printing too much materials. And the second paper showed the Veneziano Owners Club, which is basically a Facebook group where you can find fellow enthusiasts and discuss and elaborate about the brand, which I think is an awesome way to connect to the community. But let's get rid of the plastic on the dial of this watch so we can truly see the ultra black dial. And if I understand this correct, this dial is supposed to absorb 99.4% of the light. So what does that actually mean? Yeah, that means that it's quite tricky to photograph, and you will sometimes not see the pointers when I'm recording it, but I can tell you in real life they shine quite well, so it's not actually that difficult to tell the time, even if it's not too easy to tell exactly which minute we're on. The Redentore comes in several different sizes, but I've gotten to try the 40mm one, which has a lug-to-lug measures of 46.7mm, and the thickness is 11mm. Inside we have a Seiko NH35A Automatic movement, and as well as a sapphire crystal on the case. On the buckle we actually have something that I've never seen before. This is some kind of attachment, and I think this maybe actually is to protect the leather strap from feeling used before you get it. So here's a weird little plastic that held the watch together without having it folded. And more plastic, let's get rid of that. Quite a satisfying feeling actually. Looking at this watch like this, I think it's absolutely awesome. I can tell you it's even cooler in real life, and I was excited about this when I saw it online. More plastic on the back, but here we have some really awesome details. Because the back case of this watch has a symbol that is supposed to signalize the darkness of space, which this dial is all about. And now you can see the watch on my 16.5cm wrist, and I think 40mm fits me quite good. But let's get into the second watch back that we have in front of us, because this watch is actually exactly the same model, but with quite a big difference, because this one has a completely different dial. This is the Redentore Avventurina. A watch, as I said, that has almost exactly the same features, but this one gives the feeling of the sky. And this is a precious glass material that was discovered in Venice in the 17th century. So it really celebrates the Italian inventions of this kind of material. And this is actually achieved by incorporating small fragments of copper during the production process. And I can tell you, it really feels like you have a piece of the sky on your wrist. putting this watch on my 16.5 cm wrist, I mean, it feels almost exactly the same as the Ultra Black, but at the same time the presence is quite different and I can't really decide which one I like the most. I have to wear them a little bit more before I can really decide that. But I think they have very similar characteristics as this kind of dark color that is kind of infusing a lot of the light, but this one is blue and has this shimmering feeling, so it takes a little bit more attention, I think, when you wear it out and about. The leather strap has a quite solid and not too small buckle, which is polished from the outside with a logo on top of it, but from the inside it's slightly brushed, which gives a little bit more of a texture, I think. And the strap, of course, is Italian leather, and it is not as thin as you might think, but it's quite solid and it's really, really smooth. I don't think I haven't had a smooth strap ever, I think, even though it's quite thick, so I think it feels very comfortable and I'm gonna be happy to wear this and see how it ages with time. But you can see it here, we also have the logo on the back of the side. On the black version we have a fully black strap, but on the blue one we have a slightly dark blue, and you can almost see when we twist it around that the difference between the black and the blue. Filming these watches has been a true pleasure because you really need to have to play with the light to actually catch the watches and the dials, because both of them are quite tricky to catch on the camera, I think. But I will end this video with some photos outside where you can see it a little bit more. And having them beside each other I think is awesome, because then you can really compare and see which one you prefer the most. And please let us know in the comments, what do you think is coolest? The full black one or the one that looks like the sky? The backside of the case is actually not screwed or just pushed. It actually has solid real screws, which is quite uncommon, I think, but quite nice. The case has parts that are brushed on the side and also parts that is polished, and that I think is also quite a nice feature, because a full polished watch can give too much of a shiny impression, I think. Setting the time, as you show, you can just check the instruction manuals, but it is super straightforward. Just pull the crown out and you turn the watch around. So you have to put it almost 10 past 10 when you're gonna photograph it. When you have this crown in, you can wind it a little bit to give it a little bit of a push, the NH37 Seiko movement before. Here you can really see it against the black background, that the dial is catching almost all the light. It said in the commercials that it absorbs 99.4% of all the light, which is quite cool. Which I assume is probably the same out in space when there is no light to absorb. And this dial has quite similar features, as it is quite dark, but this one instead really shines at you. So it is similar with the darkness, but it also is quite different when it comes to either absorbing the light or giving you some lights. I'm gonna try to give you a real close-up of these dials, because I think that's actually something exciting and something I tried to look for when I was looking at these watches online. Because this shiny dial is so much happening when you twist it around, depending on how the light hits the dial, because all these shiny features just sparks completely different depending on what kind of light you have on it. But even in real life, I can tell you it's really hard to understand how this dial is made, because it feels almost unreal. And this complete black one, I mean, you can barely see anything. It just absorbs all the light and all the features. But since the pointers are so shiny, which I think is perfect, it really is easy to read the time on it, because the pointers are really different from the dial. And to my favorite footage of these watches is to have them side by side, because I'm still having such a hard time deciding which one I like the most. Before I knew, I really wanted to see the all full black one, because I think that's such a cool feature. But in real life, I actually think this blue is almost nicer, because it has a little bit more of visibility and is not so black. I think they are also really nice in 40mm, but I do think also the smaller versions could be usable both for men and women, which is nice. For those of you who have seen many of my videos, you know I can't have my hands off a watch without removing the strap to see the case without it. And one feature I want to show you here is also how the strap actually looks like. Because removing this is not too tricky, you just have to put your spring bar tool in where the strap is and push back. It is quite tight there, and when the strap is new it's always a little bit tricky, so make sure to be sturdy on your hand. But here you can actually see that the spring bar and the strap is bent to give a nice hug to the whole case. That is something quite unique, I think. It's not so common, I've seen it before, but not definitely every day. And you just do the same on the other side to get rid of this strap. I think you can definitely put this watch on a lot of different other straps if you want to give it a little bit of an upgrade or a change. Because this is the look I really want to show you guys, to have the case without the strap, because here you can really see the full case, and when I look at it, it feels quite round, and I think that's because the lugs are going quite sharply down and they are not taking so much presence because the dial is taking most of the attention. But I think it's a nice beautiful case, and as I said, the lug to lug measure was 46.7mm, which is a decent size, I think. Spinning it around you will see this awesome side of the back, but when you look closely here you can actually see in the lugs we have two different holes, and this is because we are gonna want to be able to put a normal strap that doesn't have these bent spring bars. So it's actually prepared for you to try other straps, which is great because maybe one day you want to give it a facelift and put on another funny strap. Putting the strap back, it is quite straightforward, but make sure to put it on the hole that is closer to the case, because that's the one you're supposed to use when you have the original strap. The other one is for when you try other straight strap with straight spring bars. Wrapping up this video, I want to show you guys how these watches look out in daylight, and I can tell you they are actually better than inside the studio. This style really sparks nicely, and you can see the hands almost more clearly on this blue watch here. But when we look at the Ultra Black one, you can also see here that the hands are even more visible when we are outside, so it's not that difficult to actually read the time. With that said, we want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you like what you've seen, and a huge thanks for Venezianico for sending us these watches to check them out. It's been a huge pleasure, and I'm looking forward to doing more content together. Make sure to subscribe also to our channel and give us a thumbs up if you like this video.